Folks, next on our agenda was going to be Buddy Roemer, but he just got a lobster, and we have a new candidate for president who is from New Hampshire. He actually graduated from West High School, so he's from my home high school, and his name is Chris Hill, and he's going to come up and introduce himself and tell you a little bit about himself. So please give a warm welcome to Chris Hill.
Well, hello, New Hampshire. It's good to be home. Let me introduce myself because unlike a lot of politicians out there, we don't have the background to have a huge national news organization introduce us. So my name is Christopher V. Hill. I'm an airline captain, a former fighter pilot from Desert Storm. I graduated from West High School in 1981, and I'm a graduate from the University of New Hampshire, 1985. It's nice to be home in New Hampshire here. Do we have any veterans out in the audience? All right. Let me tell you how we're getting started. Back in 1980, in Bedford, New Hampshire, at 16 years old, I worked for Ronald Reagan. I held a sign in January and February leading up to the primary that year, and thankfully he went on to become a wonderful president. Over the next 30 years or so, I worked in numerous campaigns for different politicians, and over again we saw the same cycle. People would come to New Hampshire, they would look us straight in the eye and tell us what they thought they were going to do and what it would take to get elected in this country, and then they'd go to Washington, D.C. and do something completely different. And that's what we're going to stand against in this election. Politicians that won't tell you what they're going to do or tell you something and do something completely different. So we started this effort last year, leading up to the election in 2010 by organizing veterans and airline people across this nation. I've spent 17 years as a captain with United Parcel Service, UPS, and I've worked in 46 different states. I always find it kind of amusing when people say this is their 8th or 10th visit to New Hampshire. I've been a resident of New Hampshire for 25 years up until 2008, until we recently moved to Louisville, Kentucky for the job. But along that line, we tried to make a difference, and we went out there and formed a group called Pilots and Patriots Defending the Constitution. And the goal was to identify veterans around the country who were running for Congress and the U.S. Senate, so that we believed that they took an oath to the Constitution before they took an oath to either political party in this country. And fortunately, we had a lot of success. People like Lieutenant Colonel Allen West from Florida got into office. We had a veteran take Barack Obama's Senate seat in Illinois. And so because I had an opportunity to stand up in front of crowds and give an opportunity to talk, I had a number of veterans come up and say, we need you to step up to the plate, and you can do it because you're from New Hampshire, and I want to applaud everybody here because you give people like us the opportunity to stand up and have a voice. So last year I talked it over with my family, I talked it over with our friends, and we have our website up and running. Everybody take out your pens and your write-in ballots right now because I'm going to give you the information on it. It's Hill, Hill, 2012.com. And that features my introduction, 4 videos on Meet Chris that chronicles my life, the issues that we're focusing on, and I'll give you the top 3. Since I've been a teenager, there have been 6 presidents in this country, from Carter up to Obama. In the meantime, we've had the same representatives and the same senators in office during that entire time period over that 30-year cycle. So the message is this: it's time for term limits for congressmen and senators in this country. Term limits will be the #1 issue because until we begin to change that, we won't be able to begin to save our country. Second, after what we went through, balanced budget amendment is absolutely necessary. It's not because they don't want to do the right thing, it's frankly because they don't have the spine to do it. They need something where they can go home and tell their voters, hey, I'm sorry I was forced to cut your program 20%, you're still getting 80% of the money, but under law and under the Constitution that the people of America demanded, I had to cut your program to balance the budget. And on day 1, I won't sign a budget unless it's balanced, so Congress will have to figure out a way to get me one. Third, we need to talk about completely overhauling the income tax system in this country. The reason that businesses around this country are sitting on huge buckets of money is because they don't trust the government to let them go out there and grow their businesses without confiscating most of their money. So I'm an advocate of what's called the fair tax in this country. It completely eliminates all federal income tax, Social Security, and Medicare tax from your paycheck. And when you get paid, you get all the money that you worked for and earned in this country. Then you'll be able to use it in your local communities first, and it'll be collected there under a sales tax format that will be sent on to Washington, D.C. I know there are a lot of politicians out there that say, oh no, we'll just end up with two tax systems, income tax and a sales tax. Well, we're going to repeal the 16th Amendment in conjunction with passing the fair tax. So under my website, under the tax section of issues, you'll see a link to fairtax.org. Go there, take a few minutes and read about it, and I think you'll understand, like I do, that it's a much simpler, fair, and transparent way to collect taxes in this country. Finally, let me talk to you a little bit about national defense, and this one hits home with me. On the second night, how many people paid attention to Desert Storm when it started in 1991?
Did you get any butter?
A lot of us were watching CNN back home here. I know my wife sitting in the audience here was watching CNN. We were in the very first F-15 Strike Eagles that were leading the way in Desert Storm on night one with the stealth fighters to drop laser-guided bombs in this for this nation and reclaim Kuwait for the Kuwaiti people. On the second night of the war, I was in a sick ship going to bomb an oil refinery in Basra, Iraq. Unfortunately, the surface-to-air missile activity there and the AAA activity there was so intense that coming off the target area, we lost our number 6 airplane and we lost 2 very good friends in our squadron. Both were husbands and both were fathers. Under the National Defense section under issues on my webpage, you'll see simply this. A supporting video where on October 27th, Barack Obama said to his audience, if the troops aren't out of Afghanistan and Iraq on day 1, I will take the troops out and bring them home, and you can, quote, take that to the bank, unquote. Well, we just lost 30 more troops in Afghanistan a couple weeks ago in a helicopter attack.
About a week.
So I'm for bringing the troops home. I'm for reevaluating our commitments around the entire planet, going to each government and asking them, we need you to step up and start taking care of your own responsibility. I've got a lot of friends left in the military who didn't retire like I did or didn't get out of the military like I did. And they went on and I asked them this question. What's the situation in Japan and Germany that we still need bases in place over there and troops right there? And they say simply this. We can reevaluate all that. And that's what I plan on doing. So we'll get together with the Department of Defense and we'll start an evaluation and see where we can start handing those bases over to those governments that are very successful, and they can start paying their own way for defense in those countries. So let me simply close with this. This is actually our very first event. Our very first advertisement is in tomorrow's Sunday Union Leader. And I like to bring this out. This is the first time you'll get an opportunity to see this. Every day that I go to work as an airline captain, I sign for a $100 million aircraft. UPS thinks that I'm worthy to take responsibility for that airplane every night they let me take it out and fly millions of dollars worth of revenue for their company. When I was just 27 years old, the U.S. government and all of you as taxpayers trusted me with a $47 million aircraft in the F-15 Strike Eagle, which at that point in 1990 was the newest airplane that we had in the entire United States Air Force. All we need to do to restore the Constitution in this country today and make this country the greatest country that it can be is to trust me with this pen, because it's who holds this pen as the next president of the United States that will determine the future of this nation. Thank you very much.